When should you pitch to angel investors? You should be pitching for investment when you have traction. You built something, you've had revenue for 6 months, like that's great.
Angel investing is more about spreading your risk around lots of small investments rather than trying to pick a winner and then take a big stake.
There are some people, right, that have a pretty good track record of predicting a lot of big wins. And a lot of those people have a lot of losses as well. But those people spend their whole life doing this.
We're experimenting now with how do we fund hardware startups, exciting ways to fund hardware startups. And entrepreneurs' enthusiasm is completely contagious. It is absolutely contagious.
We are back with another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast, where we answer real and often insane questions from Reddit about growing your startup. And today we're joined by Simon Horne, the CEO of Angelloop. Angelloop is one of the biggest and most active angel networks in Australia. He's passionate about funding startups and vehemently challenging the slow-moving status quo of angel investing in Australia. And I don't know if Simon gets insulted by this, but every time I do an intro to Simon, I say, this is Simon, he's a bit crazy. And I love that because Simon has loud opinions, and like if he has a problem with you, he'll tell you. Like what you see is what you get with Simon, which is why I'm super excited to have you on the show today, mate.
That's why I don't have a big fan club, mate.
Small but passionate.
Nice to be here, Joel. Really good fun. Yeah. We did fund your startup too, by the way.
Yep. Angelloop was one of our investors.
Yes.
And love it. Awesome, mate. Well, let's jump into it. So, brand new segment. I don't have a name for it yet. But I'm just trying it out with a few guests to see if I like it to go forward, and I'm psyched to have you on it. So I'm just going to tell you a bunch of words or phrases, and I just want you to give me your immediate response. Contextless, right? Just a couple of words at your immediate response.
Righto.
Okay. Investor update.
Pretty damn important. Keep them happy. Keep your investors happy. The best way. Otherwise, they keep ringing me up and annoying me. So it's the best idea. If you've got investor updates, please tell your investors what's going on.
Okay.
That way they don't annoy me.
Okay. All right. Your imposter moment.
Oh, imposter moment. Probably the most important one, imposter moment, when I got a call to go over to Silicon Valley and help start a business over there, which you forgot to mention, by the way, in the introduction.
You got lays to you, Simon. We'll peel them all back during the show.
Yeah, so basically got a call from Silicon Valley to help two interns on an idea, and I totally felt like an imposter. Like who? Who are you? You got the wrong person.
Yeah.
And it was. The whole Silicon Valley experience felt like I was an imposter, actually, to tell the truth. I felt like I arrived there and I was completely out of my element, but I learned very quickly how to bite off more than you can chew and chew like hell, as they say.
I love it.
That was my biggest imposter moment. Absolutely.
For the next, however many are, I just want like 2-word responses.
All right. Okay.
I just want to see I want as little context as possible. All right. We have product market fit. We just need fuel for the fire.
Yeah, come and see me.
Okay. Advisors.
Be careful.
Building in public.
Building in public. When building your app in public, you're talking about.
Yeah, just the whole concept of building in public, which is pretty popular.
Be very careful because people judge you on their first impressions. So make sure your first impressions count.
Mark Andreessen.
I don't have a clue. No context.
Really? I'm surprised by that.
No, I got no idea. I actually, tell you the truth, I got no idea.
All right, that's fine. One founder habit that scares you.
If I only got 1% of 1% of 1%, the 1% clause, I always get it all the time. If we could only get 1% of the market.
Oh, yeah. It
drives me nuts.
Yeah, that's such a flag. Ethical growth versus growth at all costs.
Pickers can't be choosers. Sometimes you just got to be a SOB. Sometimes,
yeah,
I agree. Get yourself across the line.
All right. Well, love it. Thank you. That was fun. I liked it. I'm glad we did it.
Oh, good.
I'm going to do it again. Let's jump into the real challenges today. This one is, when should I pitch to angel investors? I built an MVP that's been generating revenue for 6 months with consistent user growth. Before approaching angel investors, I want to ensure I'm not too early. Is this the right time to hit them up? From Raymond Dread 99.
Yes, it is. Even if the best idea is to come and talk to angel investors, Really have a chat. Really, what we're really looking for is, yes, that's the most important thing. We're also looking for how fast you're growing. So it'd be the right time to have a chat, to have that initial chat. Absolutely. It really, but your decision about whether you raise is your choice. But I think you'll definitely get a good reception from angel investors. That's a minimum requirement. You're not a startup if you're making money and you're in the market and you're making revenue. That's the right time to come and talk to them, because we're exactly those kind of people that would be best to talk to.
So when shouldn't they? Like, you have to have revenue to go to angel investors?
Yeah, or threatening to make revenue, as one old angel used to tell me. He says you're going to be threatening to make money. So, because the reality is, when you're a startup, you're still experimenting, and you really don't have a business until you've got that first customer, and that product market fit is really important. And so I would advise, don't go talk to angel investors until you've got that product market fit. You've got that first couple of traction, because that is the proof in the pudding. You actually have a business. If before you have any revenue, you're pretty much a 99% chance of failure. Reality from our point of view, and so we want to actually realize that we're investing in good businesses that are going to scale and that you can tell us a great story. It's all about the
Yeah.
story.
I guess, like, so it sounds like the right time to pitch for investment is you've got some kind of revenue, you've got some kind of product. But what about, that doesn't feel like the right time to speak to angels, right? Like, I would feel like the best time to speak to angels is almost straight away, right? Like, start building those relationships well in advance.
Oh, hell yeah! Look, there's no harm in talking to an angel investor at any time, even just when you've got an idea.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that, I look, I probably run 80 pitches a year, and I know you've been on a number of them, Joel. But I run about 80 pitch events a year, and I can tell you, we've seen so many similar business models, similar strategies that have been played out. And you might think your idea is unique, but I can guarantee you somebody's already thought of that and done
Yeah.
something similar to that. And getting that advice about where they fell over, where they went wrong, what they should focus on, that's really important, because at the end of the day, you're trying to create a product that's going to get to market. And that whole step of just not only inventing the idea, but getting it to market. What is my pricing position? Who is my customer? All those sort of things are really important to understand. And number one, why is your customer going to buy the product? And it's always good talking to an angel investor, because he's going to give you a more, a pretty frank, what they think of the outcome. But don't just talk to one, because you've got to talk to a number of them, because there is, and get as much advice as you can from those early stage investors, because they really understand about this stage. I would highly recommend it. We run a breakfast, and I think, Joel, you've come along to it once or twice, where we actually get entrepreneurs just come and have a coffee with investors and just talk about it, because it's always important, because I'll always challenge your assumptions. We say, that we call it the difference between perspective and you make a number of assumptions when you're a startup. You make a number of assumptions, but you don't know whether they're actually real or not. Talk to actual angel investors who've been there before, and try and understand your customer's perspective. And angel investors are good people to talk to about that, because they're really just there to help. Honestly, most angel investors are more about trying to help founders than making money. I want to make money, but it's also about helping founders and giving back as well.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, when should you pitch an angel? I think it changes with different, as the industry changes, right? And I think if, 5 years ago, you could probably like pitch your startup to angels super early, and you'd be more likely to get some kind of investment pre-traction. But even in Australia, it was still close to impossible. Like, I just think what people don't understand is that there's this idea, this really romantic idea, that I've got this great idea and I just want to pitch and then get someone to help me build a business, get all this money. And like, it just realistically doesn't happen. Like, the earliest generally that you can get investment is that you've built something, you're solving a problem, you have real customer base, and you're starting to see some repeatability. Like, you're actually starting to get some revenue. And I think anything before that, you're just like wasting your own time. Like, you just won't close any kind of meaningful investment there. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. That happens, definitely. But for most SaaS startups, that's the case, especially in Australia. We just don't have the appetite to go earlier than that. We don't have the runs on the board. But
No, yeah, and you're right. Your first focus should be getting your customer. You should focus is like developing a product. Make sure you got product market fit. Go and chase those first customers. Find out what they actually want and why they're buying it, And that's really the key thing you should focus on. You shouldn't focus on raising capital just because you're an idea. You focus on growing a business first. And then when you've got a sort of a traction, early traction, that's the best time to get an investment.
And I mean,
Um,
I get it, right? When I first had my idea, I was pitching for investment straight away, and I wasted like probably years, probably got any money. Like people just won't invest. Like it's like, especially today, like investment is hard to come by today, and it's because like people are really, I guess, consider it. They're giving you money, okay? Like, and it's also not this idea, but people just will not invest until there's traction on the table. I just think it's like it's pretty close to a hard and fast rule. But I
yep.
would say like I just think always like really over invest in relationships. Like you should be investing in relationships from so early. Like, so I would be trying to meet into angel investors like kind of like from day one. And I said this all the time on the podcast. I would start a podcast in whatever industry I have and use that as an excuse to meet the angel investors or the eventual VCs or potential hires. And I think it's a great way to do it. But if not, there are these organizations exist, right? Like Simon hosts these breakfasts where you can meet angels. Sam and I also collab on a lot of events where we bring angels and founders together as well. Like there are ways you can meet them, but just get on the outreach train, start hitting people up, and have conversations well before people need to invest in you. Because like nearly everyone that's ever invested in us, it has come from like a longer term relationship. Again, sometimes people invest, kind of like straight away, but that's much more rare for sure.
Yeah, and look, it's a hard slog, and you've got to build those relationships early. I think you nailed it on the head. And it's all coming from a referral. I mean, our relationship came from referral from another investor. That's how we first met. If you remember, Joel, you referred to it by
Yeah.
another investor, and that's all called all networks of trust. And you got to understand how it kind of works. We got to feel comfortable with the entrepreneur before we invest, and then through our networks, it's all based upon trust. So the earlier you can build that trust and relationship with investors, the better you're going to be, because they're going to be able to help you, but they also understand the struggles you're going through as well. And if you get angels that'll champion you, I mean, they go a long way to help raise money. I mean, we've had a number of relationships with where angels have just sort of backed their founders, and they've also brought a lot of other investment along with them. So building those relationships, building those trusts early, getting them involved, understanding, bouncing ideas off them, talking to them, understanding what they want, what you want, and then you can properly plan out what your strategy is going to be for the best outcome. So, as I said, instead of spending a year knocking on doors and people, oh, that's a lovely idea, that's fantastic, wow, that's terrific. They don't add any value. What you need to do is build a business, and you got to talk to people who are going to help you build those businesses.
I would say like don't expect most angels to add any value to you or any investors. Like they give you cash, and that's what most investors give you, and it's super valuable. Some investors, and it's unique in my experience, can help you get more cash or bring other value to you, right? They can be really industry aligned, or they've got great, they can make good introductions. But I'd say most investors, and I think most angel investors actually aren't like that from my experience. Like I had like a few, and when I had a few that were like really strong, great credibility and great brand, they could tip other people, and people that were like seesawing, they could come and help. But in my experience, that wasn't most people.
No, no, and you're right. You're right. It takes a special type of an angel. When I sort of talk about those relationships, they usually bring their friends in. When I'm talking about their close networks. They're sort of like you build those relationships and say, look, if I like, for instance, we work on a referral basis. If you can't apply to Angelloop, there's no way to apply to us.
Yeah.
You've actually got to have a relationship with an investor first, and they introduce you to me. So, and that's the sort of trust network that we build, because I just don't have enough time. There's heaps of startups out there to look at. Which one do we choose? And the ones that I would select are the ones that have been referred to me, like yourself. That was referred to me by a very well respected investing group. And they're the ones that I would recommend over somebody that I wouldn't know. And it's generally that's held us in good stead. That held us very 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 well, because
I'm gonna
we've got that rigor around it.
I'm gonna draw this one to a close because we're starting to get into what I think the next topic's kind of more about. So I
Okay.
think to Raymond Dread 99, when should you pitch to angel investors? You should be pitching for investment when you have traction. So you built something, you've had revenue for 6 months, like that's great. That's a good time to go and pitch. but you should be trying to build those relationships well before you ever pitch. You don't want the first time to be pitching. You want to be asking for advice for months and months, or a year before you ever want to try and pitch. So, but hey, also just fucking congrats, right? Like you've built something, you're generating revenue. Like not a lot of people get there, so that's great. So Raymond Dread, 99,
Yeah,
you've been advised,
that's a
mate.
big step. It's a big step.
Yeah,
Getting that first customer to part with money, that's really hard. That's
it
actually
is.
really hard.
It's
But that's
so
another
hard.
podcast, I guess.
All right. Next question. Where can I find angel investors? I'm looking for reliable sources to find contact details for VCs and angel investors. Are there any platforms, databases, resources that you found particularly useful for accessing investor contact details? From Legitimate Damage 51. Now, I want to take it wide, right? It doesn't just have to be a database. But like, Simon, you are an angel investor. You bring a lot of angel investors together. If you were a startup, where the hell would you find them?
Come along to our breakfast or come along to an event that Joel holds. It's yeah, we don't advertise, and that's the important thing. Angels are not like VCs. Their times are limited, so the relationships are important to build those relationships. And you may not gel with some angel investors, so best way is social. Get through a social gathering where they are, and we do run those social events. And come along. We actually our angel meetings are open to the public. You can come along and watch if you want. Go along and watch an angel meeting, or get involved with your local community where there is angel investors, and eventually they contact me because our network is very, very broad. So eventually you'll get to me, and once you're with me, then we help you and prepare you and help you raise the capital. That's kind of what we do. But getting those is through those social networks. It's got to really be through social networks.
Yeah, I think like VCs are easy to find. Like they put their shit everywhere, right? Like that's their job. They have to get that deal for. Angels aren't like necessarily professional investors. Like it's more close to a hobby or gambling for them. Like it's part of their life. It's not their whole career. So they are a lot harder to come across. Now, the approaches
But they're
I would
also,
take
yep, go on, yep.
the approaches I would take is one is like some are public. So you can find them on LinkedIn. So go to LinkedIn, bunch of cold outreach. That will get you something, right? There is a layer of angels you can just find. The next thing I would do is that I would go to syndicates. So a lot of syndicates are like collect angels a whole lot better than I could. So like Angelloop's one, but there are syndicates all around the world that do angel investing. Meet the syndicates, meet the people running the syndicates, and start building relationships with them, and then you will start to get pushed to the right angels in there. And when you start to meet angels, angels often know each other. Angels will push you to other angels as well. Um, and then the last thing is that I would lean on my network. Is that I would just go to a bunch of people who have raised angel rounds and seed rounds in your specific space and ask them for connections to the angels they raised from. Because if someone has raised in higher education from angels, it means that those angels are interested in higher education. If I'm a higher education business, those angels are probably the right people for me as well. So they're kind of like the three parts I would take. Then, of course, what you're saying, Simon, makes complete sense to me, right? Like, go to social events where they are. It's just that they aren't always there. So they're hard to come across. Angelloop does a good job with them, but like they aren't always out there advertising it. So I think going through people is unfortunately like the most effective way.
Yeah, and look, and like for Joel, if you referred someone to me, then there's that network of trust is there. That
Yeah.
you've done some rigor on. I don't think you'd send someone to me that would be of someone that'd be interest to me. I think that's really important, and certainly through those networks of trust, that's really the way it is. Referrals from people that you know, people that have raised. That's really that's they're the guys do, and syndicates are really big. This is the power of a syndicate. Our syndicate, we've got 300 in our syndicate. It's a big syndicate, probably the biggest in the country, in Australia, and we've got networks right across the whole country if we need to raise. So I mean, it's a matter of getting in contact with somebody within that syndicate and refer somebody else into that syndicate, and eventually somewhere or other you get to me or you get to somebody who can help you prepare and everything like that. Who and that's the best way to go because it's really it's a tough gig and it's all based upon personal referrals.
All right. Well, legitimate damage 51, you have been advised. Essentially, where do you find angels? Some of them are online, so hit them up online. The other ones are go to people who are in your industry who've raised angel rounds recently, ask them for introductions, and then go to the syndicates that are out there and that are open, and start to meet the people in the syndicates. And they're kind of like the major prongs of the ways you can get in. That's it. So we'll move on to our last question of the day. Something I actually have no experience in. It's just I've got opinions, but just no experience. So, but you do, Simon. Is angel investing a good idea? I see shows like Shark Tank, and it's amazing how some of those investors predict success of some of the products. For example, the Scrub Daddy is so popular now, and it got its start on Shark Tank. Anyway, can anyone give me some pointers on where to start if I'd like to be an angel investor? And this is from Face for Radio, which could be either of us, to be honest.
Oh, well, I have to agree with you there. Look, angel investors they come in early, so you have to understand, and they're willing to take the risk. You have to understand the difference between an angel and a shark, and there's a big difference in that. I think Shark Tank is not necessarily a great ambassador for angel investing. Angel investing is more about spreading your risk around lots of smaller investments, rather than trying to pick a winner and take a big stake. That's more shark kind of territory, Shark Tank or whatever it is. But the concept's still the same. Is that they're there. How do you become an angel investor? You just come along and join one of the groups. You just tag along to the groups and see if there's something something of your interest. We run a course with the local university here that you can do if you wish to become an angel investor and learn more about it. But just come along, watch some great pictures, understand what people are doing. I spent the first year of my angel investing career just watching, just sitting there in the crowd and not making any investment at all. And then when I made my first investment, that was, and then I couldn't stop from there. So, but the point is that be aware and just come along and watch what other people are doing, and see what the angels are investing, see what good pictures look like, learn from osmosis. And if you want to do a course, you can do a course, of course. But it's very important to understand that the one that you think is going to be a winner most likely won't. And it's very good. Hindsight is 2020. Toronto has always good 2020. One of the biggest investment that I ever made that made a lot of money was a company called Clipchamp. It was locally here in Brisbane.
Did you invest in
I did the
Clipchamp?
DD on, and a classic example of that was I did the DD on that in the first round, and I said no.
Oh,
And
mistake.
that no, seriously, and I'm just like, how can you pick winners? You can't. I often look like I think I spoke to Joel previously about this. It's like trying to pick Olympic medalists out of a room full of babies. You can't. You can't pick. You don't know. You've got no idea which ones are going to be the next Canva or the next billion-dollar business. You've got no idea. 99% of those businesses will pan out to nothing. But it's that one that you do. And I think that sometimes you get wrapped up in trying to pick those winners. You just can't. So don't. So that's the art of being an angel investor is managing your risk, spreading your investment around. And we call it the more likelies and the less likelies is a term we use. So when we do an assessment of a business, we look at the more likely to be successful over the less likely. We have track record of what we invested in previously. We use our history of if that happens, well, that's probably not going to work. Or if this is a scenario that's not going to work. So there's a couple of really, really important things we look for that are like road sign markers to say whether the business is going to be successful or not. Is there a first-time founder, multiple founder? Is there early revenue? Is there a global marketplace? There's a whole lot of things that can go between what's a more likely and less likely, and you just spread your risk around. Trying to pick the next $1 billion business is not going to you're wasting your time because you can't. You really just can't. And
I
and
mean, there are
even when
some
you
people, right, that have a pretty good track record of predicting a lot of big wins. And a lot of those people have a lot of losses as well. But those people spend their whole life doing this, right? Like that's their whole thing. If you want to be a casual angel investor, right? I think I think if I was starting out to be an angel investor, the first thing I'd do is that I would go and reconsider it, to be honest. But what I'd actually do is I would go and find the best angel investors in the country, right? And I'll just try and spend as much time with them as possible and be like, what are you looking for? How do you think about this? Why are you angel investing? How many wins do you have? How many losses do you have? And I'll try and spend time around more people doing it. Then I would invest in syndicates. Like I would want to spread my risk as much as possible because angel investing is so risky. It is effectively gambling. It's
It's
gambling
worse
on
than gambling.
countries.
The odds success are 65% of everything you invest in won't make a return. 65%. That's
Yeah.
less than gambling.
Yeah.
That's not even a roll of a dice. But the ones that are going to make 20, 30. For instance, Clipchamp made 50 times our money, 50x.
That's crazy.
They're usually 1 in 20. So there's a mathematical equation that runs all this behind the
Yeah.
scenes. We know, and you just play the numbers, and it's a lot of fun. But you're right. You put a money. You got to go with syndicates. The best way is to invest in syndicates. You put a little bit of money in lots of pots, and then play the numbers. And that's the
Yeah.
best way to play it.
At least as a way to get started, that's what I would do. And I do think syndicates are getting more popular. And there's also like another version of investment vehicle that I'm seeing more of, like Tribe Global in Brisbane as well, which is like uh there's like there's a company who acts like a VC, and then they'll come and say, here's the company we're going to invest in, and then you can kind of like jump into like deals that get presented to you as well. So, and I think 1013 does that too. Like what I would do is that I would just join, if I was trying to become an angel investor, I would join as many of those groups as possible to just increase my surface area. Like join multiple angel syndicates, join
Oh,
multiple
absolutely.
investment vehicles, and just get the experience, because it's not like investing in shares. It's so high risk and it's such a long-term play. It's very, very, very different.
Yeah, and the greatest thing is there's no right answer to anything. It's this is what the kind of reason I like it. There's a lot of people who like to think that they can pick the winners, but the reality is that it's more luck than good planning. You can pick the more likelies. I mean, there's certain things you can do with any startup. You can say, if you've got these characteristics, if you've got these certain things, it's got a more likely chance of being successful. But you've got no idea how big
Yeah.
or how certain it's going to be. So you really got to understand how to play the portfolio, and you should get involved in portfolios. But the thing that I particularly like about syndicates is it's not always about the money, and I think this is important. This is why I like Angel's model rather than a pure syndicate model. Is the social aspect. You've got to associate with a lot of angels, and so the biggest important thing that we encourage is the meetings and getting to meet with other angels and talking about what they like, what they don't like, and learning from other people. Investing in it as an investment syndicate is great. You can do that, but there's lots to learn. There's always this big steep learning curve, and every time an entrepreneur walks in the room, he's got a different business model. It's got a different approach, which is like, wow, I've never thought of that before. That's really cool. How's he doing that? And you learn so much. And then you monitor them and say, okay, that business model did really well. Okay, I'm going to look for businesses with that kind of model. You know, there's a lot of, we're experimenting now with how do we fund hardware startups, exciting ways to fund hardware startups, which for a long time was very difficult to fund. But we're finding new innovative models that we can, that founders have discovered and are utilizing. So there's always something exciting, and and
Yeah.
and look, an entrepreneur's enthusiasm is completely contagious. It is absolutely contagious, and yeah.
That's true. I guess I've been speaking down angel investing a little bit. Like angel investing is so important for the ecosystem. And one thing that really frustrates me about Australia is that we just don't have a great angel investing or VC investing like history, to be honest. Like we're still so new at it. Like it happens so much more in America. And like because of that, there's more investing, more startups get some success and some traction. And then there's more successful founders who then become angel investors. Like we need more of that in Australia, and we need more people to take more risks. And the more that we do it, the more success we're going to have, which means people make more money, which means that there's more investment. It is kind of like a snowball effect here. So, like the people who are angel investors right now, like you guys really are angels, right? Like we wouldn't be alive as a company and had the success we had and the life we've had, like, and the experiences without these angel investors that backed us so early. And I like look back, I'm like, seems crazy that they backed us. Like there's so much we didn't know back then. I'm so grateful for that, and I want more people to be angels. Like please be angels. We need so many angels. But if you want to get into it, I think you just need to be aware that like the upside is fucking huge, and the downside is like you just lose that money completely. And so I think doing one or two bets is wrong. You need to bet on scale.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. There's the episode of South Park where I can't remember what goes in the bank, and he says to the bank manager, "I'd like to put $100 in my bank," and he says it puts it in a few places and it's gone. And
Yeah.
that's kind of like what angel investing is like. As soon as you put that money across, it is gone.
Yeah.
Don't expect it to be. It's not an investment. It's literally philanthropy with a hope of return. Let me just
Yeah.
be honest. That's the way that we sell it. And the reality is, in the way we deal with risk in Australia is very, very difficult. And both of us being in the US and understand that they understand the risk benefit curve. If you know what I mean, there's going to be a risk, and put some money in. You understand what the risks are. Here, it's completely different. We have this almost disjointed way of looking at investment. A number of times I talk to high net worths, or when I recruit. So I've got a network of 300 I recruited from nothing, sort of thing. And every time I try to recruit an investor, it's always like, I only invest in things that make me money. There's this attitude that there is no risk with investment. It is going to always make money. If there's any risk, it's not an investment. And this is
Yeah.
the problem that we've got. We've got a cultural problem of how we perceive what risk is. And so I find it much easier to call it philanthropy with a hope of return, or the other word I use is conscious commerce, is another term I've used, but basically phrase it in a different way, and not call it investment at all. It's more like, I think this is a great idea. It needs to get to market. This guy looks like a really good guy. Give him a couple of dollars and see where he goes. That's pretty much what we try to educate.
Yeah.
And to not, because if you this is it's Joel. I mean, this is a terrible place. There's a movie called A Thousand Ways to Die in the West, and there's a thousand ways to kill your startup. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
And I've seen them, and then you go, oh my god, how did that happen? Or I never saw that coming. And look, I'm almost surprised as business models as successful as how they can kill it. If they can kill
Yeah.
their own business, and it's not just a business. It's we call it the track, if you call it. I think I call the jockey horse of the track. I think it's a great unknown. Will we have a pandemic next year? Will we have, will Trump be reelected? Will we have tariffs? These all affect, the performance of a startup and the business model and the assumptions. And these are the great unknowns. We have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. And for an angel investor, you've really got to have that ability to be able to say, disassociate and say, that money is gone. If it comes back, terrific. If it doesn't, that's okay. I'll savor the ones that we win. Angels always talk about the wins. They don't talk about the losses.
Yeah.
We never
For
ever
sure.
talk about the losses.
Well, face for radio. Is angel investing a good idea? I guess it depends on your risk appetite. But if you love the idea of like building the startup ecosystem and getting more involved in helping startups get off the ground, and you like the idea of massive returns, but you're okay with your money going to zero and playing, it could be awesome. And where you should get started, just spend more time with people who've done it before, right? Like
Yeah.
syndicates and different investment vehicles, and go to startup conferences and just meet more and more people in this space, and you'll get also just speak to like a ton of startups, right? Speak to a ton of startups and get a vibe for like, did you like them? Did you not like them? What did you like about them? Start learning about business models. And I think, that'll be the perfect place to get started in the angel investing world.
Yeah. And look, and also there's, get involved with angel groups and syndicates and
Yeah.
socialize. Just don't sign up and put money in the first thing that pops in the door. That's the other thing, is you
Yeah.
got to be comfortable with your investment. You got to understand, because you take the risk. I mean, if you want to go and invest in something, it doesn't matter what the syndicate is. They give you, a choice of opportunities. But at the end of the day, you've got to make that choice.
Yeah.
So definitely socialize with people in that syndicate. Talk to them. See what they're doing. What's good and what's bad. Because generally the first time you go, I remember the first time. Actually, I digress. First time I did my angel invest, one of the first investments I ever made, I ran into an angel investor and he said, I wouldn't invest in that, Simon. I said, why? Because of blah, 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 blah. And things I hadn't even thought of, you
Yeah.
know. And then, of course, that business failed 6 months later. And I saved myself, a significant amount of money. But that's what angel investing is about. You can learn from each other, but at the end of the day, it's risk. But if you do it together, it's far more fun doing it together than separately, you know. And
Yeah. I will make one last point that I just thought of, which might be important for people. If you angel invest on your own, the smallest check size I've seen is 25 grand. And that's pretty small for an angel investor on their own to be a part of any kind of round. If you're as part of a syndicate, I've seen in checks of like $2,500 to $5,000 because it's all coming under one person anyway. So you can make a lot more smaller investments. So I think it is an easier pill to swallow if you get involved in a syndicate.
yeah, and look, and the numbers, the numbers, they don't lie. You got to build a portfolio of 25 plus startups.
Yeah.
That's that's when you can manage your risk very, very. Your returns become very reliable, and I mean very lucrative. And so when you talk about these very successful angel investors, they invest in lots of businesses. And certainly with syndicates, I mean, we can go as low as 1,000. By the way, Joel, we're now down to 1,000 in our syndicate, but generally it starts around the five. We
Yeah.
generally like the 5 grand. Build your 5 grand. With 5 grand over 5 years, you get 25, and then you're going to build a strong portfolio.
Yeah.
And our role is just to give you the opportunity to choose what you want to invest in,
Yeah.
and coach them and mentor them and support them. And some businesses get a lot of support, some don't. That's just kind of the way it is.
Well, thanks for radio. You've been advised. There's a lot of good stuff there. And that's it. That's all we've got time for. So, last segment is plugs. Simon, what's going on? What do you want to plug at the moment? Could be Angelloop, could be events, could be books, songs, whatever.
What a plug! What I do not want to complain about, which is, if you've ever seen me on LinkedIn, is this. So I promise I won't complain. This is not about
Okay,
complaining.
good.
This is what I plugs. Um, I certainly, I think that the work that Joel, you yourself do in terms of, we should plug the meetups that we have
Yeah.
every month.
Startup Social House. We'll put links in. We run events monthly between Gold Coast and Brisbane, and just bring as many founders and entrepreneur adjacent people and investors, anyone who's interested in startups, come along. And it's free drinks and it's free food. And the whole idea is just to hopefully empower you to get connected in the space and learn more about the space, and and meet someone interesting.
Yeah, and also if you want to get involved in angel investing, it's always a good thing.
Sure.
Look up UQ Early Stage Investor Course. There's a great investor course that I run. It's over 2 days, and it certainly will help you a lot in terms of learning how to be a very, very successful angel investor, and the things you should watch out for and not watch out for. And there's lots of lived experience in that. I can tell you that much, Joel, mate. After all over the years that I've been investing and involved in, so it's probably a good example if you wanted to get involved in angel investing. Or find your local angel group. There's angel groups all around the country. So every major city's got one, every capital city in the state, and there's great ones in regional areas as well. So reach out to your local angel group and get involved and just go along and watch. Most of those groups, they take guests and you can just come along and watch. And if it's something you like, get involved.
Love it. Well, that's it. Simon, mate, as always, love the conversation. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Joel. And thanks for having me. And look forward to having a few beers with you next week.
I'll be there. Well, this has been another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. We'll see you all next week.